Japan has the largest public debt of any industrialised country, and there are fears it could be the centre of the next global financial crisis. Japan's new Prime Minister, Naoto Kan, has fiscal reform as his #1 priority, and he's already started wielding the axe against hundreds of government jobs. But eventually he may have to raise taxes, a move that spelt political suicide for many of his predecessors, as North Asia correspondent Mark Willesee reports from Tokyo.
It was a dazzling display of Japanese innovation and technical prowess. Streaking across the Australian night sky, the Hayabusa spacecraft returned to Earth, carrying the first rock samples taken from an asteroid. But back in Tokyo, another wing of Japan's space program has just been clipped. The showroom, which proudly displays the achievements of the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, including the Hayabusa mission, will soon be shut because of budget cuts.
We feel extremely regretful. It's very unfortunate to lose a place where so many people gather. Last year alone we had more than 170,000 visitors.
The aerospace showroom has an annual budget of $1.3 million and is just one of dozens of government-funded agencies which have had their public money switched off, all in an effort to curb Japan's stupendous debt.
The level of debt is quite shocking. The gross debt is about 200% of GDP, twice the output of the country in any given year.
Japan's public debt stands at $11 trillion. That's an 11 with 12 zeros on the end. This year's deficit alone is estimated to be $400 billion, or 6.4% of GDP. For the country's new Prime Minister, tackling public debt and balancing the budget by 2021 is priority #1. And he's even mentioning the dreaded G word to shock Japanese out of their complacency.
Japan is currently facing a difficult situation with the worst fiscal situation among developed countries. We cannot sustain public financing that overly relies on issuing bonds. As we can see in the Eurozone confusion that started from Greece, there is a risk of default if the growing public debt is neglected.
To prevent a Greece-style meltdown where Japan loses the confidence of the bond markets and its interest rates start to climb, Tokyo has to start cutting its $11 trillion worth of debt. And that means even small outlays like this popular space museum face the chop. To that end, the centre-left government has unleashed its razor gang. Its task is to cut spending and to flay hapless bureaucrats who stand in the way. One of the projects to be axed is this $1.6 million 3D movie theatre. Located in the countryside, it's used to study how the brain reacts to different types of scenery. This lawmaker wants to know why people would want to see 3D pictures of the countryside in a cinema when they could step outside and see the real thing.
The striking thing about these show trials they had of wasteful government spending was actually how little waste they found. I mean, last year they only really managed to cut about 0.2% of GDP through an examination of all the waste, and in the end it didn't really realise very much savings at all.
Richard Jerram believes the Japanese government needs to do more than just cut wasteful projects.
Most companies, 70% of companies, never pay tax. Most individuals pay a very low average rate of tax, and the sales tax, the consumption tax, is only 5%. And so what they really need to do is to try to bring more people into the tax base, broaden the tax base, and then they'll be able to reduce the deficit.
While much of Japan's government debt is publicly held and financed by the country's ample savings, the fear remains of a massive meltdown when those savings run out. So that means even the triumphant space program has to take a hit.
I think they'll make a terrible mistake if they only think about money. Today, children are visiting this place, and we should continue to provide them with dreams.
But it seems not even dreams of space will stand in the way of cutting this stratospheric debt. Mark Willesee, Lateline.